Good evening. I will call to order the Finance Committee meeting on October 16th, 2023 at 7 p.m. We have one item on the agenda this evening. It's order number 23-100-8938. Communication from Mayor Vigent together with proposed amendments to the City Code Chapter 125, Personnel, Section 6, Salary Schedule, and proposed job description pursuant to Chapter 125, Personnel, Section 5, Preparation of Classification Descriptions relative to positions for the Public Library, the Assessor's Office, and Public Facilities. And as a reminder, this was advertised on an October 2nd, 2023 meeting, and that was advertised, went out on October 13th. I will begin by reading the letter submitted by the Mayor. Honorable President Ossing and Councilors, enclosed for your review and approval are multiple proposed requests to amend Chapter 125, Personnel and/or approved job descriptions as follows. Marlborough Public Library would like to add 2 new non-union positions, Head of Adult Services, Technology and Programming, and Outreach Librarian. Enclosed are proposed job descriptions and salary ordinances amendment for your review. In addition, enclosed is a salary ordinance amendment to increase the library page, which are non-union, hourly rate from $10.77 to $15 to be aligned with the state's minimum wage. The Assessor's Office is requesting to change the senior assessor, which is a union position, from 35 hours to 40 hours per week at the same hourly rate that they currently receive. The MMEA has agreed to this change, and it falls within the parameters of Article 8 of the Collective Bargaining Agreement. Public Facilities is requesting to increase the hourly salary by $2.50 for the city's house workers to closer align with the schoolhouse workers. Currently, the city house workers rate is $5.52 lower at $17.80. while the schoolhouse workers rate is $23.32. We can absorb a $5 rate increase, but suggest management look at planning another adjustment in FY 2025. The additional city house workers for the library will not be hired until next month since the library is behind schedule. Enclosed is a salary ordinance amendment. The library did open to the public on October 2nd. In addition, Public Facilities will add a plumber at the prior FY 2023 head electrician salary of $34.34 per hour per rate. Please note that there was no salary schedule or job description on file for this position. Enclosed is a salary ordinance amendment and the draft description as well as a comparable salaries. The future administration should look at the trade positions and complete a full salary review prior to negotiating new collective bargaining agreements. Sincerely, Arthur G. Vigent, Mayor. And with that, the Finance Committee may have some questions in regards to the library. I will bring up the Assistant Director, Morgan Monsella, please, if you would like to come up. If the committee has any questions. Good evening.
Good evening.
Councilor Orm.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome. First and foremost, by way of comment, we talk constantly about looking at affordable housing. What concerns me is our own employees may not be able to even afford affordable housing in Marlborough, and this is overdue in my view, way overdue. And most important, not related to a question for you, but when, and hopefully soon, a full review of salaries and hourly rates in this city will be reviewed. They need to be. I've asked for that before, and I know we keep losing HR personnel because they're not probably being paid enough. So that's my way of comment. I'm in support of all these raises. They're minimal compared to where they should be. And what worries me more as we try to attract employees to the city is can they even live in our city bounds? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And I'll open it up to the Assistant Director, too, if you had any comments or any in regards to any of these positions.
No, I believe they are necessary for the library, and we're looking forward to be able to attract new candidates to Marlborough and enjoy having full staff.
And I know the opening day on October 2nd was wonderful. It was really good to see all the residents come out for the ribbon cutting as well and see the beautiful new library. So thank you for all your assistance.
It's been fabulous.
Oh, Council Prum.
Thank you, Chair Irish, and I just want to also echo the sentiment of how great it was to have the library open again, and we certainly as a council want to be able to support the full staffing. And was just curious right now, without these positions, how has that been filled in the short term until these people come on board?
Well, I, as the assistant director, have spent about 20 hours of my week on the desk covering the information desk, the reference department, and other department heads have been filling in their departments, in addition to having to fill in my department, just so that, you know, my staff can take breaks or take a lunch. So it'll be great to have on the additional staffing so that I can allow my other department heads to go back to their departments and help support them and their goals, in addition to be able to really grow the adult department for Marlborough.
No, it's great to hear, and I'm glad to see the position for the pages be up to the minimum wage. I'm sure that's been challenging to recruit anyone at the low rate that it was before. Is that sort of on par with other communities? I know there's been some salary comparisons.
Mm-hmm. That is pretty close what other libraries are paying pages. We typically attract high schoolers and retirees, which works out for the amount of hours we're generally providing for a page position, but they're really integral to the library to help us, you know, run.
Right, absolutely. Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm in full support of the positions.
Is it, Council Landers.
Brief comment. I agree with Councilman Way there. I'm a little embarrassed that something like this meeting to bring up the pages up to the minimum, the state wage, really. But getting back to the other two positions, I did a quick calculation there. And somewhere it's around 58,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Now, that's someone with a master's.
True.
All right? They could have gone to Simmons, which is a minimum of a 5-year program. It was 50 years ago, and I think they stuck with library science at 5. That's not a lot of money. What always concerns me about Marlborough, whether it's Department of Public Works or school department for that matter, was there for 1,000 years. Sometimes, you know, you bring someone in, and then they get that experience in Marlborough, they get the reputation of being in a good library system or a good school system, and then they go a couple miles east, you know? So I don't think we should pat ourselves on the back that we're starting these positions somewhere around 58,000. I don't think that's a lot of money, all right? And so I guess, Councilor Urim, I agree with you, and I think I've mentioned before, you've mentioned before. Yeah, that's something that the next council probably should start looking at. And, you know, I understand that there's one job in here that I think the house workers, you know, the ones at the school department and that's another subject, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But I think this is a good start, getting the pages up to minimum wage, state minimum wage. But let's not sit down and say 58,000 is good for these people that require a master's. I think the other position's a little bit less. So that's all, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council Landers. If no further questions, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the salaries as presented, the hourly rates and salaries as presented.
So you want to put the hourly in there as well to page? All right, so motion would be...
Ones presented. I can name them off if you want. The ones in the letter.
So motion to approve job description, the salary ordinance for the head adult services, technology, and the programming and outreach librarian.
That's fine.
Councilor Crum.
Will this need a suspension at our Monday meeting?
If we wish to have a suspension, we could, because this was advertised on the 2nd, it went out on the 13th, so our next meeting is October 23rd, so yes.
Okay, it does sound like there's a real need for the positions to go out, so I would recommend the suspension.
We can put the suspension in there as well. And Councilor, do you want to put the two, also the amendment to the increase from $10.77 to $15 as well in that motion?
I'd like to add more to it, but yes.
I will second that motion. So motion has been made and seconded to approve the job description, salary ordinance for the head of the Adult Services Technology and Programming Outreach Librarian, as well as an addition enclosed the salary ordinance amendment to increase the library pages from $10.77 to $15. All in favor? No opposed. It carries 5-0 with the suspension. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Mr. Chair?
Council.
Yeah, I just want to point out that both Target and Home Depot are charging over $18 an hour for starting, just for reference.
Good point. Thank you. So next up, go right to the next one, is the assessor's office is looking to increase from 35 to 40. Good evening, Principal Assessor. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, Council President, councilors.
So, so this is a union position.
Yes, it
The
is.
Finance Committee, so it's a union position, it's going from 35 to 40. It's already been worked its way through the union. So I don't know if is this, now, looking at your budget, how will this be coming out of the budget now with this increase of salary for that position?
That's actually a good question. We'll have to, once this is approved and then once it goes through, we'll have to discuss that, and I'll be seeking additional funds to to further fund this position to get it to where it needs to be.
Because I know, and because, going through a couple years back, there was obviously funds available there because the person hired also came in at a lower rate as well in that position. I'll open it up to the Finance, Council Perlman.
Thank you, Chair Irish, and I certainly improve the increase in hours. Is it just given demand in the office? Was this something that was an interest for many years for the office to move to the 40 hours?
Well, it was a little surprising to see coming in that level of assessing position be at 35 hours. And I don't think initially I realized it was a union position, and once realizing that it's based on a 35-hour, per week. Mostly this is to bring or better align this position with surrounding mid-size or larger city communities, because most of those positions are based on a 40-hour week, especially as a senior assessor. Actually, my senior assessor came and accepted the position, realizing that it was basically a $6,000 cut in salary just to come to the city of Marlborough. But where he came from was the city of Worcester, and this is just as an example. It was a 40-hour position, even though the hourly rate had increased or was more here, but because of the hour differential, it was less in salary.
Okay.
So some of the surrounding towns and cities, most of, again, these positions are all, a 40-hour, based on a 40-hour week. So it increases productivity and office coverage. When I have questions or we need to do inspections or to accomplish whatever it may be, it gives us more hours to do that.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the explanation. I just wanted to know a little bit more from the letter, so thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
So I think just the rough math, this would probably increase that position by about $11,700 or so?
Well, initially when I was asked to put this information together was back in, it was July of '23.
Yeah.
And what I presented to the mayor was the current status of the hourly rate, the annual rate, and then looked at the next step when that was increasing or changing. So I knew the end of August, the increase in, I think, a COLA or an increase July 1st, and then the next step for this position, and looked at the difference between 70 and 80 hours. It only equated, I think the difference was I have $457.24 every pay period.
Every pay
is the
period, that makes
difference.
sense, yeah.
And it was only an increase of just about $1.75 per hour. So it isn't, a lot of money, but it certainly would help having the additional hours.
And looking at some other surroundings communities for a municipal government, a lot have been going to 40 hours, some surrounding
Yep,
towns.
they really have been. If the community isn't at a 10-hour, 4-day work week, and they're either off on Fridays or they get out early, a lot of those may be around 35 hours. But if you go to a Worcester or Leominster or some of the mid to, as I say, larger communities, these are what I consider full-time, positions at 40 hours a week.
Thank you.
So,
Council Landers.
Quick question. Now, your office is open 8 hours a day, is that right? Or 9?
it is from 8:30
Oh,
to
it's
5
8:30.
o'clock.
I thought it was 9 to 5, but it's open, how many hours a day? Eight.
Well,
Well,
I'll just have
8.
to add it up, 8:30 to 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
There we go.
8.5.
Yeah, that's right. 8.5.
Yeah, so it makes sense. I think that if the office is open 8, what do you do? Have your staff start at different times to give you the coverage?
They actually do. So out of the 4 of us, I'm always there till 5 and beyond.
Yeah.
But I have 2
I
staff.
see you leave late, so I don't worry about you.
The light is always on, so, but there's 2 staff members that come in at 8:30, and then there's 2 of us that come in at 9 o'clock. They have the coverage, so everyone could go to lunch and still have the coverage needed, so.
That's all, I was just
All right,
curious.
thank you, Council Landers. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
Okay. Move to approve the increase in the hours from 35 to 40 for the senior assessor position.
I will second that motion. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the increase from 35 hours to 40 hours for the senior assessor. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Council.
I'm in favor of the motion. It's just on the suspension. Do we want to suspend all these tonight? If so, I would ask that we consider it if it's needed.
I will ask the president if he is okay with suspension on the.
Do it as a group.
That
I'm
was
thinking-
all, that was the plan on all these anyways. but-
That's what I thought.
Okay,
Thank you,
including
Mr.
the suspension.
Including
Mr.
the
Chair.
suspension, yes.
Now, I've seconded. All in favor? Carries, no opposed. Thank you, Mr.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, next would be, we'll take up public facilities. Good evening, Commissioner Scott.
Good evening.
Just want to fill us in on, I know that
Take one, just-
probably, if you want to start with the, well, whatever you want to start with, but
Sure.
the plumber one, I know that's been talked about.
sure, the first one there is the house workers. So we have the school house workers in the city, they were quite a bit underfunded in that salary position, so we're trying to make it more the same. If you look at the numbers, it kind of looks a little weird if you try to add them up. The difference is they have 2 different rates for the shift differential, and there's also a stipend in there that's different. So the numbers don't quite add up if you look at it, and I didn't put this together. If you want to see the detail, I could provide it to you, but it's equitable now with the 5. And at the time this was put in, it was believed that we didn't want to absorb all the $5 rate differential, so we're just going for the $250 at this point. So, right there, currently we're down 3 house workers. 1 house worker left, and then we have the 2 vacant positions for the library.
For the,
So-
for the library. Yeah.
Currently, we have a vendor, a cleaning service right now doing that work, so that's being put out with a vendor.
Thank you. And I know with that increase with a lot more glass in this building too, there's gonna be a lot more work as well. doing other
Absolutely.
things.
If you walk through the library, there's a lot of horizontal surfaces, a lot of vertical surfaces, a lot of stuff.
Thank you.
I should also say that the cleaning service we have just does cleaning.
Yeah.
Our custodians would do snow removal, they do shoveling or snow blower, which the service will not, so it's important that we get in-house people that we can direct them to do different things, so.
I'll open it up to the committee. Any questions? Council Orm?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Commissioner, how you doing tonight? Good. We chatted a little bit during the library pre-opening, and the need for housekeepers, and, well, I think it's called something different, but the issue is obviously trying to attract them.
Correct.
And just curious, through the process, have you found that trying to attract them is difficult?
Yes,
where we're at?
extremely.
Yeah.
And we've had that one vacancy for a while, and it's extremely difficult.
And we also chatted a little bit about the fact that here's a beautiful new building. And I remember when I worked in Ashland, when the new town hall, well, the reconstructed town hall opened up, renovated, they were very concerned that they keep that place immaculate. I'm as concerned about not just the library, but the library is a brand-new building, and we want it to stay new for a long time, and it's always with the housekeeping that never gets the true appreciation, I think, that they deserve. So with that said, I'm definitely in favor of this, and more importantly, I would be willing to sit down and start discussing maybe with the new administration where we need to go. I know you said you can't absorb the $5 rate at this point, but hopefully when the new administration's in there, that can be discussed for budget preparation, and we can start attracting people that we need in the city of Marlborough to keep our buildings clean. The ones that are here are doing great, but they need help. I don't expect our librarians going to have any more time, if they're already running around like they are, to do housekeeping. So with that said, Mr. Chair, I'm definitely in favor of this increase and hope to see an additional increase of that $5 that was mentioned in the letter once we have a new administration. Thank you.
Council Perman?
Thank you, Chair Irish, and I certainly agree about the increase, and hopefully it can be the higher amount in the future. I'm curious why this disparity between the school and city side existed. Was that just historically the payment was different? It seems odd.
I don't know the history behind it. I don't know if they got an increase and we didn't. I think it was just like that. I don't know why.
Okay, it does seem like in retrospect, when it adds up, it would be a pretty big differential between the hourly over time, and certainly they're both doing a lot of work. So I'm glad that this was caught and able to be updated. So I appreciate you bringing it forward. And
There's a lot of strange things in the contracts and how they, even in the DPW, we have multiple contracts and they don't read anything like one another in some instances. It's very strange how we, I'd like to try to get them more uniform so that it's more fair.
And then similar to when the assessor was up here, where is this increase going to be coming from in terms of the budget moving
So
forward?
these have already been approved.
Okay, these have been approved. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that that won't be an issue in the future. And how many people are in this? This would cover how many particular staff members?
3. Well, there's how many overall? So I think there's 6, 7, I think there's 7, then there's 1 part-time, so.
Thank you. No further questions. And if there's no other, I would move to approve.
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay.
I didn't see you over there, Counselor Landers.
Council Landers.
It would take me an hour to tell you why the discrepancy. No, 5 minutes. Well, I think they should know. Not for an hour. No, I'm only kidding. I can't talk that long. No, it's funny how you say that, Mr. Commissioner. It was 2 different programs. There was the school, the city hall, and, we had many, many custodians. And quite honestly, and I mean this in a positive way, in the 60s and 70s, a lot of our custodians came from when the shoe factories closed. They were thrilled to come into the school department and getting a decent wage, retirement eventually, you know, and sick leave and stuff like that. And that's kind of how it started. And to be honest with you, they had an active and strong union. So they got the amount up. And then quite honestly, there is overtime in the school department for custodians. You know, you got to fill a shift during the summer, snow removal, broken pipe, and that kind of stuff. So, you know, their salaries got up there, and it didn't happen so much, you know, at the city, at the library, and city hall, and stuff like that. I think just going back to what Councilor Orem mentioned, that the whole salary setup should be studied in depth and take it on at a time. Now, I could agree with Councilor Herman, you know, that raise, you can't go up $5 right off, but spread it over this fiscal year and next fiscal year, and at least, you know, get that up there. So, that was pretty good, Mr. President. 3 minutes, huh? I'm all set.
Yes, I would make the motion, move to approve the increase for the city's house workers.
Motion is made, I'll second that, for amendment to increase the city's house workers' hourly wage by $2.50. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carries 5-0. Next up is the plumber's part.
So, the plumber, a few years, I think it was 5 or so years back, we had an HVAC guy that also did plumbing, and that was useful. Then he left, he left for greener pastures, so we haven't had a plumber, and this is a critical position. Some of the school, they have some of the older, whether it's the heating or the air conditioning, they have pipes that are exposed to the outside wall, and we'd have, from time to time, you'd have a heater fan on there and someone accidentally shut it off, and you'd have a frozen pipe. And trying to get an on-call person to come out and help is difficult. So that's critical to have that in-house plumbing thing. And if, I don't know who's had plumbing work done in the house, trying to get a plumber is like next to impossible nowadays. So, so trying to get this secured would help a lot.
And that's on the maintenance of the school side, right? When you're looking at the budget, because as an example for the electrician, is in that side of the budget, and it references going to the FY23 salary.
They're paid by one side of the budget, but
Yep.
they work on both, so.
No, exactly, but
Yep.
that's what they're gonna go at that
Yep.
rate at the 23, okay.
Just like the HVAC, the trades, they work. Wherever they're needed, they go, so,
Okay,
yep.
thank you, Commissioner. I'll open it up to Finance, Council Landers.
Well, go to your
That's
committee
right,
first.
Council Landers.
No, just quickly, you're right, Commissioner, it's a very important position. The first plumber we had, HVAC guy, we actually sold him from the Marlborough Hospital. That's when the high school opened. It was so critical. That building had, it was unbelievable, the power supply in the cellar and up in the attic there. So we did bring in this guy, Jack, I won't give you his last name, but he stayed there for many, many years. But you're right, trying to get a plumber or an HVAC guy, and, you know, when you need them, it's always an emergency. So this is a very, very important position.
Thank you, Council Landers. No further discussions, I will.
I'd just make one point.
Oh, yes.
The job description, that is a draft. There's a couple of things that need to be tweaked in there, so when you look at it, it still needs to be tweaked. It's not the final version, so.
No further discussion, I will entertain a motion. Councilor Orem.
Motion to approve the order as presented for the increase, with the suspension as well.
With the suspension. I will second that. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the job description and the salary schedule in public facilities to add a plumber at the FY23 with a suspension. Any further discussion? Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just to remind the councilors, through September, we're running about $500,000 under in salary, so I do not expect any transfers to come down. They'd all be done internally. We won't be asking the public or anyone else for more money to fund the adjustments that we're now making. That'll change in fiscal year 24, 25.
Thank you, Mr. Spring. Good point, thank you. Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Carries 5-0.
Move to
Thank you.
adjourn?
Motion's made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor? Carries. We are adjourned at 7:30. Thank you, Finance.